Welcome to Appalachian Dim Sum. This is month 6, and this is the appetizer episode.
Yes. Yeah, Appalachian Dim Sum, where our entertainment is our comfort food.
That's right. I've decided we're going to kind of change up the way we order these episodes. The episode order is going to stay the same, or the way we label them, really.
Yeah.
We're going to go, instead of episode 6, we're going to go month 6. That's technically what it is. When we started this, we were recording one episode at a time. We released one episode a month. That was the idea.
Yes.
But we ramble on for so long. We're like, we got to cut this up. We don't want to be putting up 4 or 5 hour episodes.
Well, we watch a lot of stuff and read a lot of stuff, play lots of things, and it's a lot of material to cover. Trying to cover 3 things, and the time frame that we were probably aiming for was too much, and half the time we're trying to cover like 20 things.
Right, exactly. So, and you had made the suggestion to cut it up into smaller chunks.
Yeah.
And that just kind of led to the way we were organizing it. We have the appetizers, the main course, and dessert. And so it kind of made sense to separate it by the course that we were on.
So that's where we are now.
Yeah.
A month from now, we might be doing something completely backwards.
Right. So technically, this is episode 15. So
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. So this is episode 15, month 6, appetizers.
You can probably take away from that who's doing the editing and who sits here. I don't have the technical knowledge. I would help more on editing, but I'm just like, what's Discord?
So that's kind of what the only real thing that we're changing up this month. We're still using the cameras from the leftovers.
Yeah,
last
our
week.
Little mics.
Yep. And so that's kind of how it's going to be, because I always stumbled with episode 5, course 2. Nah, I'm getting away from that.
When you start to say it, I just nod and
yep,
because I have no idea either.
Yeah. So it's just gonna be we're gonna have the episode number, episode 15, then the month. This is the 6th month we've been doing this, and what course we're doing. This is the appetizer course. Hopefully that'll make it a little less cumbersome for me and you.
Yes. All
right. So let's get started with something that we both ate for this month is Dan Evil Eye, but we got to get our food first.
Yes,
we always forget that.
Actual appetizer.
We actually have to do an actual appetizer. I brought pinwheels, and it's this. We discussed this a little bit. You've never had them before that you know of.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
Little small cut up wraps.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
Went out of town this past weekend, and for me, the pinwheels are a quintessential car food, because they're easy to grab, easy to eat, give a little bit of protein, fill you up a little bit, but not too much. And you have a little 4-pack of pinwheels, and that'll last you a few hours. Just popping one every 20 minutes or so.
Yeah.
So that's what I brought. We're gonna down some pinwheels, and then we'll come back and talk about Dan.
Yes.
All right. Be back.
All right.
All right, welcome back from the actual food appetizer. We had little pinwheels, which was pretty much wraps cut up.
Yeah. I don't know that I even was remembering them by those names. Oh. I would have just called them wraps, but yeah, they got the little Italian seasoned, I don't know, is it pastrami and stuff in them?
Yeah.
Good stuff. Put a little hot sauce on it. That's the Appalachian part.
That's right. It's good to go. That's just, to me, that's a good go-to pretty much in any situation.
Yeah.
You need something quick, grab a pinwheel. All right. For our movie, you're going to talk about Dan?
Oh, yeah, for our appetizers.
Our appetizer movie. Appetizer.
Yeah, it was Dan, the
Evil Eye.
Which I think we saw when we were watching trailers.
Right.
And we're kind of like, what is this? Is this part of the series? Is this a separate thing from the series? And it turns out that it is actually the first 3 episodes of the 2nd season.
Okay, so it's only the first 3 episodes. That makes sense. It was about an hour and a half.
But you know how they do, when they do seasons, they have a little arc. Like in the first season, they had the little arc with the mannequin, and they had things like that. They had the thing where they were trying to Race Turbo Granny and all the different little stretches. So it was almost like taking one of those little segments and just making it into a movie. So I guess with that being said, we shouldn't spoil very much of it because the season hasn't come out yet.
Right. I agree.
But it was cool. I have a problem watching like anime episodes in a theater. I think we went to go see that shortly after like lunchtime too, which is also a problem for me. I know I fell asleep for a few minutes of it.
Oh,
it wasn't because it was bad. It
Yeah.
was just I need to watch anime episodes one at a time at home. I like them where if I miss something, I can back them up or something. Or a lot of times I am watching a subtitled version, and especially at home, I like to be able to focus more on that. I guess we can spoil a little bit of it. There's because they do traditional cryptids and things like that in the series. It seems like they're always focused on some kind of either conspiracy or lore or something like that.
Right.
This one is kind of ties into today's show a little bit.
A little bit.
It was the Mongolian deathworm.
Yeah.
And we can leave it at that if that's the place to leave it. But I always have to look it up, especially with Dan. Anytime there's a creature, that's one of the things I do. That's another reason I like to watch it at home, is that I can pause it and then do a little bit of research on what are they. They did the Flatwoods Monster as one of the early things they did in the first season. And they had all the other aliens, and of course they brought in Nessie and
the Nessie inclusion was really weird.
Yeah, well, the whole show is weird.
True.
But for anybody wondering, if you missed that in the theater, you're not missing anything. It is exactly where the first season ends, where they look into the room and see all the little. I always want to call them spell tags. I don't know if that's the right name for them or not. The little notes that are usually like
like runes or something.
They're like a barrier to keep evil spirits away, kind of thing. And there's a whole room full of them, and that's where they left you with the season 1. And it really does just pick up right there again. And of course, they left you too with Momo getting like strangled underwater by the creepy townspeople. So you don't have to worry about that part for very long, as that gets resolved in the early parts of that. I guess it was a movie, but it really was just the first episode.
Right.
So,
well, to answer your question about the spell tags, they're called Ofuda. They're paper talismans.
Talisman is the word
that's the word you were looking for.
Yes. Okay. I say spell tag because they take a lot of like kind of traditional things like that and work them into Pokemon as items you find, and from the video game, those things will become a specific card. Like it'll be like a tool card that you put on one of your Pokemon characters in the card game.
Okay.
And I think there was one that was called like a spell tag at one point, and it looked just like those little notes, and that's where that image is in my head from. We've played the card game for a long time and I still play it, and I probably take a lot of terminology for things from that, and a lot of times the terms entered into the card game or sort of a play on what they actually are. They'll adopt something and kind of change it for the game. But
I was kind of bummed that it was the first 3 episodes of the second season.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping it would be some sort of side story,
like a
standalone thing. One of the things I hope for in like film adaptations of like cartoons or something like that is a little higher quality animation.
Yeah, especially when you get on the big screen and stuff.
Yeah, and I mean Dan has great animation. I think probably if there were anything I would want to see kind of brought up a notch is like the coloring and the lighting.
Yeah.
Now the second season, I don't know his name. The director of the opening sequence from the first season of Dan, he's like the co-director of the entire second season.
Yes.
So in the Evil Eye movie, this was in like a little interview after the movie.
Yes.
In the theater.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the extra thing that you got to see if you went to go see this in the theater. He was really focused on like the coloring of the scenes in Dan the Evil Eye. So there's a lot more, I guess, color themes going on. And it'll probably be by arc. So like this arc was kind of like purple, a lot of purples,
Yeah,
a lot of reds.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming going forward after this little arc, it'll be something else.
Yeah. Yeah, if you get into like if you go into like Demon Slayer, they did little one shot movies that were just like a side trip to an island to go fight a different bad guy and things like that. And I was kind of hoping the same thing, that it would be that. And I think on the coloring thing of just mentioning Demon Slayer is that I've watched Dan to Dan in the middle of finishing, seasons of Demon Slayer and Chainsaw Man, and those are so crazy vibrant that I think it almost makes something like Dan to Dan seem plainer.
Interesting. Okay.
That if you just watch Dan to Dan, you'd be like, oh wow, this is amazing. But when you watch it in the backdrop of watching other shows that have gone like full on, we're gonna blow your mind with our animation. I always say Demon Slayer. Have you watched Demon Slayer?
Nope.
They have the different elements that are tied to some of their sword moves.
Okay.
And when they do, they're like water and fire and stuff like that. And when they do, the color animation of that is ridiculous. It's a work of art, and it'll be like I'm gonna do like a water blade second move, whatever. They've got names for them all, and when they do, it's like the old Japanese like wave art kind of gets incorporated into the move. It's beautiful
like
to watch.
Cresting wave.
So and really bright colors and stuff like that. It's one of my favorite things about Demon Slayer is just the animation of some of that stuff. Plus, it's a good story too, but I think that does hurt a series like Dan to Dan. I'm watching one right now called Dororo.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the name.
It's the same thing. The animation just seems so plain, and it's not because it's bad animation, but it's just because you compare it to so many other things that are so much beyond where they are. So
the thing that really stands out for me with Dan to Dan is like the camera work, if that's a way to say it.
Yeah.
I think it has really good, like the direction. I think is really good in Dan to Dan.
Yeah, they move through scenes a lot, and give you a lot of perspective when you have a Mongolian death worm that is a giant thing. They frame it well, to where it helps you understand what you're seeing a little bit better. If that was a '90s anime, it'd probably just be like a little trimmer's worm crawling around, like,
or a static worm in the background while things happen in the foreground.
Yeah, that's true. Where they do that thing where they're moving the
the two static shots kind of parallax against each other. Yeah,
creates the feeling of movement when it's you're actually just looking at two still shots like colliding.
Do you anticipate rewatching these 3 episodes or just going on?
Yes, because I 100% fell asleep for part of one of them.
Okay.
And I didn't miss, I think, anything important, but just to get back into the flow of any anime, that's one of my biggest complaints with anime series is they're so long between seasons that half the time I have to go back and I want to watch episodes from the previous season just to remember what the heck was going on, because if
they need a last time on Dan to Dan.
We're in that world where there's just so much content that you can consume. That
I mean, that's what we're doing here, talking about content we consume. So
yeah. If this was like one of these shows existed when I was a kid, it would be the only thing that you watched, and you would know everything that happened because you would have been focused on it, and it would have been the most important thing. You'd be going to school and talking about it with your friends because they would have watched it too. But now it's like, which anime are you watching? And it's like, I'm watching one of 1,000 of them. It's like, I'm watching this one. It's like, you should definitely watch this one. It's like, well, you should watch this one. It's like, well, there's too much to watch.
That's an interesting point, because you're right. When we were kids, it was you were watching He-Man or you were watching Thundercats. Like there were a few things, and everybody watched all those few things. We all knew about all of it.
I would come to school.
Way too much.
I would come to school and talk with a friend about what happened on Home Improvement the night before.
Yeah,
that was how isolated we were with our entertainment choices.
Well, I feel the same way about video games from the 90s to today. Like in the 90s, I felt like I could play pretty much every video game. I felt like I was able to spend time with most video games.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not even scratching the surface.
That's why I don't devote much time to video games. I sort of live vicariously through the fact that you play games just to even hear about them, because I know the time drain that they are, and I don't have that available. Yeah. But then even if I did, it's like, where would you even start? I haven't even played through all the God of War games yet, and that's probably what getting into a decade old stuff at least.
Yeah.
I've never played the. People ask me one of my favorite video games is still The Last of Us, and I've replayed it, and I don't even know how long ago that was made. At this point, it seems like it's probably
like a decade. Yeah.
It and Uncharted. I'll go back and replay those, and you go back and play those comparing to what's happening now. It's like watching somebody play a Super Nintendo, probably.
You had The Last of Us, then they remastered it because it was on the PS3. They remastered it on the PS4, and then they made The Last of Us Part 1 for the PS4 and PS5. So I think that's had 3 releases.
Yeah.
And then The Last of Us Part 2 has had 2 releases so far.
I had the PlayStation I bought came with an Uncharted game. I think it was
Was it the trilogy?
I think it was one of the last ones.
Because one of them came with like a collection.
I didn't get the collection. I had to go back and get the others.
Yeah,
I almost want to say that it come with Last of Us, or did we buy it? I think it might have been like a package that came with it. And I think that's the only reason I even played it.
Yeah,
is I didn't know anything about it, but I was like, "Well, this sounds cool."
It's a good game. It took me a couple times to get into it. Like I started it, played it for 2 or 3 hours, played something else.
Yeah.
Restarted it after I think it was the 3rd time because I was determined. I was like, people love this game. I want to see why. I saw why. I got it.
They had a quick sell for me. They're like, their main character is an old dude with a beard named Joel. Like,
they're like, easy sell.
You got me.
All right, moving on to a movie I watched called Vivarium. Ever heard of this?
We watched it here a while ago.
Oh, you saw it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
This is the Jesse. What's his name?
Yeah, Jesse Eisenberg. And Imogen Poots.
That was the reason I watched it.
Imogen Poots.
Imogen Poots.
What else is she in?
Josh Brolin's Hole.
Oh. Okay,
what is it? Outer Range.
That show. Okay.
She's the older sister from 28 Weeks Later.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Green Room. I love that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Something else that I've seen her in recently. She's
one of those for me. She's one of those like I know her, but I don't know her name.
I should clarify. I don't like stalk or obsess over actresses.
Yeah.
But she's one that I will watch a movie because she's in because I think she's an attractive girl and she's a good actor or actress. I'll try something that she's in if it's out there. I think I've abandoned a couple sort of more drama type movies that she's been in because I just wasn't into them. But I think that was why I kind of committed to watching that, and that was weird.
So I'm not going to try to get too many spoilers, but I'm going to give the exposition, the setup. It's pretty much this young couple, which Jesse Eisenberg and Imogen Poots are just looking to start their life, and they're looking for a home.
Yeah.
And they just randomly walk into a random real estate agency, and they take them to their complex, their neighborhood, their suburb that they built. And it's this really weird, false looking neighborhood, almost like Tim Burton-esque neighborhood. And
very much like Edward Scissorhands neighborhood or something.
Yes, yeah, it just looks fake. And they don't see anyone else around. They go into the one house, and while the weird real estate agent guy that's very awkward, while he's there showing them the house, he just leaves. And they're left at the house, and a baby shows up. And they're pretty much forced to take care of this baby. They can't leave. They're stuck there. And ever seen a movie called Dark City?
I have not seen it. I actually have a copy of it, and it's on a list to watch, and we don't ever get around to it.
The themes that are in Vivarium reminded me a lot of Dark City. There's a lot of one way I generally say is like I could imagine these being in the same universe, that kind of thing.
Dark City's a Kiefer Sutherland thing.
No.
Is that the wrong movie?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Kiefer Sutherland is in that.
Okay.
He's Dr. Schraber.
Yeah.
Rufus Sewell. He's the main character.
He's a man in High Castle.
Mm-hmm.
He's Obergruppenführer. Whatever his name is.
And let's see, William Hurt and Jennifer Connelly as well. Star-studded cast.
Speaking of Imogen Poots and liking anything that she's in, Jennifer Connelly, I'd watch her knit for 2 hours.
So you've seen Alita?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, we'll talk. Well, hopefully we'll talk about that someday.
yes,
Um, but yeah, it very much it's. I need to stop saying these could take place in the same universe because that's more like a headcanon thing.
yeah,
It's just they're thematically similar.
yeah.
That's really what it is. Um, Not knowing if the world, what's going on with the world, something false. And then once you see Dark City, you'll probably see where I'm saying that they're similar. It
And
was released in 2019, and I looked up who the writer and the director was because a lot of times if I see a weird movie like this, I'm like, I want to see what else people make.
yeah,
Just because if you came up with this idea, you probably have some other good ideas. And Garrett Shanley is the writer. I'm sorry, Garrett Shanley is the writer. The director is Lorcan Finnegan. Now, at first, when I started looking at these two guys, I was thinking like, is is Garrett Shanley Lorcan Finnegan's pen name? Because like they do the same thing.
okay,
And they're both they both of them have done some shorts, and then they've done a couple of like larger films. Uh, Nocebo. I have no idea about either of these films.
I've got that on a list too. It's a Eva Green like horror
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
Um,
Which I
kind of
mean,
kind of hitting all of my favorite actresses here in one conversation.
and,
I love her. She's creepily gorgeous. Uh, she can play this like weird, kind of menacing character, but she's just naturally kind of like an old school, 50s or
oh yeah,
60s
you
kind
could
of
put her in a
beauty.
'50s movie and she'd fit right in.
Yes,
So that I plan on watching that at some point, and
it's like a possession movie or something, isn't it?
I, I I literally know nothing about it.
I think it was
Like I
one.
just looked up what other films.
It was one I had on a list, and I was like, I want to watch this by myself because I don't want to freak everybody in my house out because it looked like it was a pretty menacing looking movie.
And the other one's called Without Name. And
I love that one.
the poster for that kind of looked like an old Texas Chainsaw Massacre poster. So both of them are probably kind of unsettling. And
Yeah.
if that's what this guy does is write unsettling films, then I'm probably a fan.
I think you get a lot of pairs of writers and directors sometimes.
Yeah.
That probably, especially more recent movies, post 2000 movies. I think there are guys that probably came out of like film schools together or met somehow or another in an early project or something and do work together.
Well, the reason I was thinking the whole pen name thing when I was Googling their names, like I put in Garrett Shanley and it gave me a picture of a person.
Yeah.
And I Googled Lorcan Finnegan. It gave me a picture of the same
Same
guy.
person.
I was like, wait a minute. But no, I looked a little more into it. I can't find a picture of Garrett Shanley, which makes sense. He's a writer. Writers aren't usually up front. But from what I can tell, they are two different people. Lorcan Finnegan has recently...
They do write horror, so maybe the other guy's doesn't exist anymore.
Maybe
he's buried in the other guy's backyard.
Recently, he did direct The Surfer with Nicolas Cage. So this guy's just attracting huge talent.
Oh, I saw that trailer. Yeah. I have not seen that, but I had to think for a second. There's so many Nicolas Cage movies. I was like, The Surfer. Yeah, sort of like a old man fighting back movie.
I kind of had to go the other way. When I was looking through his filmography, his very short filmography, I saw a picture. I was like, "Is that Nick Cage?" Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
But I liked it. I really enjoyed it. It's probably not the movie for everyone.
No, it's a hard watch. It's very not tedious isn't the right word, but it takes effort. Definitely somebody had some commentary on going
Suburban
into sort of like
life and
corporate world and then going to go live in a suburb and having a kid and fitting in and all that stuff. It's why I live out where I live. I've been around enough of that world to be like, nope, none for me, thanks.
And I do think it's weird enough. If you're the type that likes to chew on the subtext of a film and the messages and the meanings, that definitely it's in there. You could chew on it all day.
Yeah.
But it's enough weird sci-fi to where I think if you just like existential horror or something like that, or almost, I'm going to use the term Lovecraftian from what we were talking about before, where it's the threat is more existential. It's not like there's a monster. It's more the situation is the threat.
If you really like to dig into movies, and I've thought about going back to watch it to try to get more into it myself, but I also know from watching it the first time is it's a lift to do.
Oh yeah.
But I know a lot of people like to kind of dig into those kind of movies. There's a couple of movies that come to mind. I can't think of the names. I won't waste our time trying to do that.
What's that?
That are these kind of commentary on societal things that are probably better crafted stories than I've even picked out from watching them once. But it's I don't like for a film to feel like work, and sometimes going back to watch something like that, it's probably worth it. Oh, that Melancholia. Did you ever see that?
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's such an unpleasant
It was
watch.
wild.
And one of the only movies that had me just
Unpleasant
cheering,
watch.
had me cheering for everybody in there to just go on and die. It's like there's a story of a planet getting ready, or a moon getting ready to collide with the thing. It's like, will you get here faster and stop this? Yeah. But the fact that it had you kind of thinking that way gives some credit to the filmmaker. There's like, this guy's good at making this film. It really made me dislike everybody in the movie, and I kind of come back to like the movie Seven. I was like, when I watched Seven in the theater, I walked out mad. I wanted to like fight, and I was like, I had to give credit to the fact, is like, that's good. And if you did that to me by a made up story on the screen, then good on you. That's good filmmaking.
Oh yeah, that's a good movie.
Which one?
Seven.
Oh yeah. No,
I
think I was newly married, and don't think I had started in police work, but maybe was getting ready to. I can't remember the exact time frame on that. But no, I was like looking for anybody. It's like, if you look sideways at my wife coming out of the theater, it's like, it's on. I'm throwing people through windows. And
as far as I'm concerned, there are like two tiers of movies. Movies you can just like watch, and movies you have to pay attention to.
Yeah.
And Melancholia is one of those movies you have to pay attention to. And I think when I watched it, I think I just watched it, you know. Yeah. So I probably should go back and actually chew on that one for a little bit.
Yeah, it's like there's a whole list of movies, and maybe that'd be a thing we do sometime, or like movies that are good that I absolutely recommend you don't watch.
Oh, goodness. Antichrist. Oh man.
I don't know that's even good. That's just a don't.
Really? I thought it was great, but
it's great if you are a witch and you hate men.
Oh, it's mean to men.
That's basically that.
Well, Willem Dafoe is one of those I'll watch anything he's in actors, you know. But that's for another day.
Yeah, I'm not watching that one again.
No, I don't want to watch it again. I watched it once. That was enough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, talking about watching once and it being enough. Killer of Killers. That's a good transition, huh?
My first note on that is, if was a film, that's Killer of Killers. I've said that I hope that it would not be this thing with this Viking woman warrior and all this stuff. And it was, if you could have taken what I didn't want it to be and made it every part of that and emphasized it, that's exactly what it was. The whole Viking thing, I could go into a rant on that for hours. It's broken into three things. It's the story of, it's an anthology. It's the shield, and it's the sword, and then bullet, and then there's a little thing at the end that ties them all back together. The shield is the Viking one.
Okay.
That's the woman who is going back to fight another Viking and coming up against Viking after Viking that's, 6'7", 6'10" monsters, and just mauling them because she's a woman Viking. And just the unbelievability part of all of that just makes it to where I'm checked out before it even gets into that. And of course, the Predator comes into this. She's got a son. They fight the Predator. I guess we're spoiling this.
Oh yeah,
it's really not a spoiler because that's the whole thing. Is that everybody dies except her, and she kills the Predator. Yeah, who would have thought?
I can hear the Reddit responses to that comment right now, where it's like, "Oh, so in a movie where an alien from outer space comes down, it's unbelievable. There's a Viking woman."
It's unbelievable that she's wielding probably at least 75-pound steel weapons, throwing them around like they're and that's where it all comes from, all this LARPing stuff where they think, oh, I can be a Viking. It's like, no, you can't. It's like the fact that this all comes from stuff where like people found like some archaeology, they found some Viking graves that had women with weapons, and it's
Right.
like, that does not mean they were warriors. That means that was symbols of status. That's why they were buried with their weapons. They might have actually even been some leaders in some societies, but they were not out jumping on top of predators with a 95-pound warhammer and throwing 260, 70-pound men across battlefields. It's just,
See, I watched that first. I called it an episode. The first episode of Killer Killers, the first section,
yeah.
and I was like, okay, that's enough of that. I don't want to see anymore. This barely kept my attention.
They go ahead.
And I thought, hey, I should talk about this just to tell Joel, don't watch it. Because I thought that while I watched, I was like, Joel would not like this movie.
No, no. I've said it before, and I would say if you put a room full of 100 people and we fight down to there's one left, I'm going to be in the top 8.
Did you see that? Did you see that whole internet thing about 100 men versus a gorilla?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was amusing for a weekend.
Yeah. And I'm confident I would be in the top 10 of the 100 that were picked.
Yeah.
And I still don't think I would be a frontline Viking warrior. I would have been an archer in a Viking thing, or I'd been a strategist, and I probably still would have gotten killed by people that would have just come in and mauled me.
See, as someone who's not as knowledgeable about, who Vikings actually were or anything like that, I just kind of know the pop culture Viking.
It's a fun thing to fantasize about, but it's like the reality versus the fantasy are two completely different things, and I like the reality and the history of things, and this is not that.
If I were to write a story that was Vikings and Predator, it would be like the Predator comes to a Viking village, and the village has to take him down. Yeah. Like it's like maybe their biggest baddest guy comes out to try to, hey, I'm going to take you down. He just gets smacked by the Predator.
Yeah,
because the Predator should just be this force to reckon with.
Yeah, this whole series just denigrates the whole idea of predators, and this whole thing was supposed to be trying to probably set us up for the next movie coming out,
which looks cool
and stuff. Cool. But it's just undercutting the whole idea of them. They kind of get back to it in the second one. That's the sword, and these are two, like, this is feudal Japan.
Oh, okay.
Two brothers.
See, that sounds so cool.
It's the only redeeming part of this whole thing.
Okay.
Is this story? This story is like a little, like, would have fit into like a Matrix anthology thing. It did fit okay. It wasn't.
I felt like they were inspired by that, the Animatrix.
Yeah, but it's two brothers in that one that are fighting over, or not fighting, being forced to fight over who's going to be the successor to their father. They split. Then it comes back 20 years later after the one that does succeed him, whichever that word is. I don't know which one. is the new warlord or whatever the region, and the other guys come back to get revenge on him. They start fighting. He's like a shinobi. He's like a ninja, basically, against like a shogun warrior. Have a big fight in the castle, and the Predator's watching. He jumps in. They finally figured out they have to team up to beat him. They beat the Predator.
See, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. A team, you need more than one warrior to take down a Predator.
Oh, this thing is slaughtering all the soldiers that are trying to run in to save their lord in this like castle.
As it should, yeah.
Yeah, and it barely winning him along the way. The fight gets outside. The two brothers finally beat him. One brother dies. It's the theme of this whole thing. One person lives. The Predator dies. And that all comes back together in a minute. Then you get to the Bullet, which I've just renamed the Hispanic Mechanic.
Okay.
It's a World War II setting. He's an airplane mechanic. I guess this was their making sure they included everybody. They had their Hispanic character and his dad sort of introducing cultural stuff there for... So you could have that representation, I guess, whatever.
You got a checklist.
Yeah.
You got those people.
And the whole thing is about an airplane squadron fighting a Predator in a spaceship. Okay. And you're, again, getting to the whole idea of a Predator is if you don't have a gun when you're fighting a Predator, that he'll take his gun off and he'll fist fight you and beat you to death.
Right.
And he shows up in a spaceship to fight a bunch of World War II level planes that were just metal bodies with V8 and V10 car engines in them.
So the Predator made short work of them, right?
Well, it wasn't as short as it should have been. It should have been he showed up and like targeted them all at once, shot out missiles, blew them all up, and left and drove off. But the Hispanic mechanic figures out how to beat him in his crappy old plane that he could barely even get started because all the other guys had nice planes, but they had to give the Hispanic guy a bad plane that,
of course,
only he could get running if he used his mechanical genius.
Okay.
So the number of Uggs that I had at this point in the series I was starting to get dry mouth from ugging. They fight. He kills the Predator. The Hispanic mechanic lives, and same theme as all of them. He gets abducted, goes back to a ship where you have Super Viking Woman, Ninja Brother, and the Hispanic mechanic have all been collected.
Oh, in the Predator ship.
In the Predator ship.
Okay.
So they can be taken back and forced to fight each other. They fight each other, refuse to fight each other after a minute. They release what is probably supposed to be the beast from the new movie. In the trailer, they show that this young Predator is going to go fight this beast that's unbeatable.
Yeah.
They released the beast, and these three, the Hispanic mechanic, Viking Woman, and Shinobi, kill the unbeatable beast in minutes. So it kind of undercuts that whole storyline for the movie. If that beast was supposed to be menacing, I'm like, okay, a bunch of unarmed people beat it in an arena. And then the Predator Lord after they all kill each other, wants to fight whoever wins. And of course they agree to not kill each other, so they all go fight the Predator Lord. And Viking Woman goes to sacrifice herself so everybody else can get away. They get away on a spaceship they don't know how to fly. And
so all three of them?
The two do.
Who are the two?
The Ninja Warrior and the Hispanic mechanic.
Okay. Is the mechanic the pilot?
Yeah.
Is he the one flying the?
Yeah, he can fly spaceships because he knows how to fix World War II planes.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And
that got ruined in Independence Day.
Yeah. They take Viking Woman back. They don't kill her, even though she's fought all this stuff. Capture her, freeze her, and they're putting her away into their storage unit. And of course, they put her right next to the Indian girl from Prey.
Okay, tying stuff together.
So they're trying to tie it all together. And
well, while I have not read the issues themselves, I'm just aware of the fact that in the Predator comics there is a human female that like lives with the what are they called, the Utai or something?
There's a name for them. Yeah, I saw it. I'm kind of refusing to acknowledge whatever lore they're trying to create at this point because it's just dumb lore.
Well, it's
like a Yusef or a
yeah, the name of them came from the comics. It was good lord, Yautja, Yautja,
or Utya or something.
Utya?
I don't know.
Utya. Okay.
This is just them. They're Star Warsing Predator. They're destroying another.
Everything's a franchise.
It's whatever this was supposed to do to kind of build you up and make you want to see the next Predator, it did the absolute opposite to me. I was interested in the thing after Prey. I kind of liked how Prey played out, as unbelievable as parts of it were. It was still an enjoyable watch. This just shows that it's the same people that have ruined Marvel and Star Wars, and that they just will not learn a lesson and stop making the same kind of crap, and that they're not going to stop making it until they just go bankrupt and are shut down. And
they take all your favorite franchises with them.
Yeah, I have zero interest to watch the next movie or anything else they do. The Predator was awful. I just kind of credited.
I didn't even bother with that one.
I credited that to just maybe a bad director pick or something, or them just trying to stretch too many things into that storyline. But at least it was still a Predator. It was still kind of in the world of the stuff, and even Prey, to its credit, kind of stayed that way. It was a little bit of a stretch, but this is just this is probably what they wanted to do with everything else, and they did it here, and I don't care what happens in the next one. It's another franchise that's just marked off of the stuff that I'm going to go watch my old stuff and enjoy it. I mean, they have a ship there. If you wanted to do something semi-creative, they have a ship with all these people that have defeated a predator, and they've gone back and abducted and kept. Why wasn't Danny Glover and Arnold Schwarzenegger in there? Well,
Yeah.
why wasn't Dutch sitting there frozen? I mean that.
Or pieces of them.
Well,
They got blew up.
you actually neither one of those. You never see anything happen to either of them.
True, you see the explosion, you don't see them die.
So you don't. Arnold, his last scene in Predator is getting flown away in the helicopter, and he's all beat all to hell. And then Danny Glover watches them fly
That's
off.
right. Yeah.
So neither one of them die.
Yeah, you're right.
But later, that's how they get the Hispanic mechanic. Is after this battle, he's back in his little garage because.
Well, one of the staples of let's call it the new media. The new media for old franchises is making it their own. It's they don't really want to honor what came before. It's all about the new stuff. Well, what are we doing? What we're doing is what's important. So that's why they want to have Arnold Schwarzenegger or Danny Glover there.
Yeah, I mean that would at least you don't even have to include them in the future stuff. You could have been rolling Super Viking woman past.
Yeah, you just see them in the
past them
background
and
or
just
something.
see them
Yeah.
do sitting there. At least be a nod to the things and make at least show that maybe you watched the movies before this instead of just I got rights to make a Predator movie and I'm gonna make the continuation of the Acolyte or whatever the last Star Wars thing is, except I'm gonna do it with Predator people instead of I'm just saying whatever guys.
And I don't know if the people who wrote like the Predator 2 were thinking this way, but with the Predator specifically, and this is one reason I'm curious about the next film, is there seems to be an effort to almost emasculate the Predator.
Yeah.
Like bring the Predator's power down and make the humans as a species, I guess, better. And it'll be interesting to see what they do with this young Predator the next film, and see if a human comes along and saves them or something. Because that kind of seems like where it could go. I mean, it might be this Viking lady and the samurai warrior, and
what kind of human's going to come and save that poor Predator? I can't imagine.
Right.
105-pound, whatever.
But the Predator in the beginning at least was supposed to be the Predator is supposed to be the antagonist, the threat of the film. And they're not really they don't seem anyway to be the threats of the film.
In every movie, going up against the best of the best and just mauling them, and the best of the best has to outsmart it. It never overpowers them.
Right.
And the Viking thing, she was up on top of the back of the Predator, like stabbing it with her shield, or
broken shield,
whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, seriously? It's like he'd just reach up and grab you by the head and crush you, and it would be over. It's
so yeah, I don't think the writers are thinking, well, how incredibly terrifying can we make the Predator and show the human spirit to overcome that? It's like, well, we need to make the Predator weaker so that the human can overpower them. And that, I think that's where the narrative issue is and may be going forward.
I'm going to run for Congress and pass a federal law that says you can't make anything else about Vikings without consulting a historian. It just angers me. It's
well, the problem is they probably did consult a air quotes historian.
Oh yeah, all these people that are rewriting history. Everybody wants to turn and cite to some grave site they found where they found a woman with a weapon, and I'm like, that might have been her favorite weapon. It might have been a weapon she made for somebody. It might have been a symbol, like I said, a symbol of status. It might have been a symbol of wealth. The what leaves it, unfortunately, where you can't just go back in history and prove how nonsensical some of the stuff is that Vikings did not do a lot of written history, and the little bit of written history that they did got burned because they raided each other all the time and they were at war constantly. Yeah, so anything that they did have didn't survive. They didn't have archives. It was such little village, small communities and villages that almost sort of like the Zulus did in like the southern parts of Africa, where one tribe just started to take over other tribes. They did, but when they did, they consumed that tribe. They wiped out any history that they might have had and made them part of theirs. So there's no historical records to go back to because it was it was a very aggressive culture that destroyed everything that it touched.
They were predators.
They they destroyed each other, and you didn't assimilate. You didn't get the. It wasn't an assimilation. It was like forced assimilation. It's like you're gonna come in our culture, and you're either gonna be a child bearer, you're gonna make weapons for us, you're gonna cook for us. If you can't fill any of those roles, we're executing you because you're worthless. And that's the fate that most women faced, unfortunately. In that is that if you were not young enough to bear children, or one of them didn't take a fancy to you, if you're a lady that already had a couple kids, you're done. You're getting beheaded and tossed into the creek bed. it's it's an awful culture. I don't admire it. It's super violent, very, but it wasn't an equitable culture. Let's say it that way.
No. See, I kind of wish they would have taken a little more cues from that culture for Predator Badlands. To me, it would have been a lot more interesting if we saw a predator that crash landed on a planet that was taken over by a tribe of particular predators, and the predators are hunting the predator.
Yeah.
Instead of there's a predator and a big cat thing.
I fully expect the predator to cry at some point in this movie.
That'll be interesting. Maybe that's why it has the human eyes. But I still think I'm going to see. I'm probably not going to watch the rest of Killer of Killers. The first section just it didn't impress me. I just
No.
I wasn't personally. I wasn't particularly upset about the Viking lady. There's enough media out there with that to where I've accepted it. That's okay. This is a part of our media.
Yeah.
But the way that she overpowered the predator, I thought was dumb.
Yeah.
I just did.
Well, even in the design, they made the predators even larger and kind of more menacing in this. And I thought from the trailers we saw, well, it's like, wow, they're improving and kind of making the predators more interesting. It's like, no, we just had to make it bigger so it looks more impressive when our angry, half-shaved Viking lady kills it with a broken wooden shield. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, I got you. We're gonna just another franchise destroyed. Thanks, guys.
Well, I have high hopes for Badlands. Well, I'll let you know when I see it, because I will see it.
I'll wait to hear from you.
All right.
I'll be watching something else that I know I can sit through until somebody at least gives me that was awful, or that was at least watchable, or.
Well, I'm hopeful because it is directed by the same person who directed Prey.
Well, so was this.
Oh, this was?
Yeah. Same guy.
Wonk wonk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of makes it seem like maybe somebody held him back for Prey, or maybe somebody else was involved to keep him in check, and now they've turned him loose, and this is what you get. So, or okay. He has somebody else on a staff that is getting their way.
Well,
I don't know. Don't care to look up the politics of what makes bad movies.
No, I'm not too keen about knowing what's going on much behind the scenes. I just
like we talked about.
Show me the finished product.
We talked about that in our little thing on 28 years later, that this sequel is being made by or directed by Nia DaCosta, and there's a lot of groans and stuff about that, and a lot of people apparently know stuff about her. I was like, I don't care. Mm-hmm. I don't care who she is.
Give me a good movie.
If she makes a good movie, then I'll say good job. And if she makes a crap movie, then I'll be like, well, maybe she shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I just want film, and it's the same for any film. I want the new film, the new thing, to seem like they respect what came before it. That was the problem with Star Wars. That was the problem with the Matrix 4. I guess that's the problem with this.
And it's not even just respecting what's before it. It's like, just, do you not understand how to like make anything that's believable or enjoyable? And it's just like, I saw so many reviews of this Killer of Killers, like, oh, that was super exciting and blah blah blah. It's like, what did you watch? It's like, are you so mired down in other stuff that's even worse than this that was actually good? It's like, if you've seen a movie that happened before 2010. I mean, it's like,
no.
It's if this movie, if Killer of Killers, you came away was like, oh, that was super exhilarating and exciting. I'm like, you need a different movie collection to watch, or you need to just find something else to do because I can go through all sorts of just low budget action movies from the 80s and 90s that are 4 times better written stories than this thing was.
Maybe at one point we can talk about sycophants in the fandoms. That's definitely that's definitely something we could talk about for a while. Because that's kind of what we're talking about. There are people who make up their mind one way or the other. It happens both ways. Before they watch something, they know, oh, I'm going to love this or I'm going to hate this.
Yeah.
And I think we're all probably guilty of that to an extent.
I go into some stuff thinking, wow, I went into Prey like, it's like I'm gonna have to sit through this, and it surprised me, and I don't have problems admitting it's like I was wrong.
Yeah, well, and that's the difference, is you're willing to admit if you're wrong.
I was wrong. Those are three words that just need to be like part of public education or something, because nobody is able to come to grips with that at this point, that I can't be wrong, because then all my little beliefs fall apart. It's like, okay, have fun with that.
I'll say in a conversation, like, hey, maybe I'm wrong. I often am. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I grew up with a school teacher mom and a circuit court judge dad.
You got used to being wrong.
I had wrong redefined for me in ways that most people can't even comprehend.
Well, we'll go from wrong to right. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning.
Yes.
This is Tom Cruise.
I'm trying to catch up with you.
Yeah.
I told you we just finished watching one. And I can't remember which one it was. I think we agreed it was probably 5. So I'm catching up, but I have not gotten to this yet.
So I'm gonna, since this is a relatively new, it's still in the theater. Since this is a new movie, I'm gonna avoid spoilers. This is the 8th Mission Impossible film. This is the first one that is a direct sequel. So, like, as you've probably noticed,
Dead Reckoning before this, right?
Yep, Dead Reckoning before this. Yeah, every Mission Impossible film is kind of like another mission.
Yeah, and you always kind of get the feeling that they make sure that the movies that I've watched so far are wrapped up enough that if this was the final movie,
right,
that we're good. Excuse me.
And
but they always have it to where we can have another movie out of this easily.
And it really should have been. I mean, they could have done Dead Reckoning Part 1, Dead Reckoning Part 2. I mean, this Dead Reckoning like stopped, and then Final Reckoning started. It goes right into it.
I was saying something about like that scene with a submarine kind of tumbling, that I thought that was part of this. You said that was the very end of the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. Yeah, you see that submarine in the first one, and it's like, hey, we're going to have to go down there.
I got you.
And that's a big part of what this film is.
Gotcha.
The basic plot, and this, if you haven't seen the first one, but the basic plot of both of them is there's this rogue AI that wants to destroy the world.
I've seen little trailers and stuff, and kind of I've got the general idea. I don't have details, but
like pretty much my only comment about that is the AI's name is the Entity.
Okay.
And I don't know why that bothers me. It just my mind's eye rolls when I hear that, the Entity. Oh, come on.
That somebody would have named an AI that their company created something that's menacing.
Entity.
Yeah.
Or an AI would name itself the Entity. But let's see.
Like going on Google or Twitter and logging on to the devil's lair.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like they just call it, was it Grok and ChatGPT?
Grok is bad enough. I'm going to skip a couple of my notes because they are kind of spoilers for Final Reckoning, so I'm not going to, or for Dead Reckoning, so we're not going to mention that. But it is a race against the clock. And I will say the AI needs to get to like an archival bunker that it wants to infiltrate. It wants to like infect, I guess.
That's a very James Bond thing.
Yeah.
To have the clock. There were older movies with the 007 where like when he would stop the bomb, it would actually stop on 007. Like 7 seconds left.
Oh, 007, nice.
But that was I think that was the one I just watched where they had. Because the one I watched was the one with the nuclear launch codes and all that stuff. That they had, everything was by time. We have an hour and a half until this girl gets to the hotel room. We have to do this before that. And that's definitely a theme through the movies, that they like to create that tension of I think it was in the same one I watched. This is the Jeremy Renner one, where he's climbing up the building with the things, and he's like 20 minutes till she gets here, and he's like, dude, he's like, that's not helping. He's counting down like every 2 minutes that time goes by. He's out there hanging on the side of the tower in Dubai.
I absolutely think that if you watched all the other Mission Impossible films, or if you watched any of them and you've enjoyed them, this is worth a watch.
Yeah.
I went with a few people to see it, like a couple of people in my family, and one of them was my aunt. And after the movie, she was like, "Wow, I should see the other ones." I was like, "What are you talking about? This is the first one I've seen. This is likely the last Mission Impossible film. You just watch the ending."
It's like coming
of
in
the
and
series.
watching Return of the Jedi first.
Right. I should see the other ones.
Who are all these people? Who's that little green fella?
But I will say that they do attempt to reach back into the series and kind of retcon some stuff and kind of reference some stuff to almost make the whole series kind of tied in.
I don't think you were telling me that they were doing a lot of flashbacks or something to stuff.
There's a good amount of flashbacks.
And somebody, I don't know if it wasn't you, somebody was telling me about how the length of the movie. I think it was actually listening to the Unashamed podcast that they had talked about it briefly. They weren't spoiling anything, but he's like, if you'd cut out all the flashbacks, you could have had a shorter movie.
A little bit.
But that there was a bunch of, like, the first half of the movie was like flashbacks. It probably wasn't the first
half.
Yeah,
not that bad.
He was probably exaggerating.
Maybe 10 to 15 minutes, I would say, if you combine them all.
When Jace Robertson on that Unashamed podcast talk, all of Robertson's exaggerate stuff.
Right.
But he was kind of emphasizing that the first half was kind of, but then the second half was good. So
you got Haley Atwell, Ving Rhames, Simon Pegg, all reprise their roles. They're all delightful.
Yeah.
I mean, all three of those people, if they're in a film, I'm like, put it in front of me.
Yeah.
I want to see it.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise has said this is probably, maybe, might be, we'll see,
I say it all
the
time.
last one.
Do you have it pulled up? How old is he?
He's what, no,
he's got to be 60s.
I think so.
I know, like, watching, like,
Age. He's 62.
62.
Yeah.
I was watching, Keanu Reeves through the John Wick stuff, and he was getting into his, like, sort of mid-late 50s. And you kind of watching him run, and it's like, man, I can feel your knees hurting, dude. It's like, I've run just like that.
Tom, for me, I think Tom Cruise almost seemed ageless until Fallout. Like, from Fallout to Dead Reckoning to Final Reckoning, you can kind of see his age, but man, he's still whatever he has, he's got it. He still has it.
I think while we were watching this, I was thinking, or watching the fifth one, because every movie's got this scene where he's just sprinting.
Oh, he loves running.
It's like, I want to go, like, somewhere at a show and, like, pay to meet him and just get up there and be like, I'll race you for $50 and just race Tom Cruise across the facility or something. I think I would surprise him. I'm deceptively fast for an old guy, but I think he would probably still smoke you, because
I'm sure he would.
The difference there is that he's like everybody else in Hollywood. He's like this big.
Yeah,
I've got some stride on him. I know I don't have the endurance, but.
So you've seen the trailers for this, I'm assuming?
I have.
Okay.
Probably a lot of times on the trailers for big stuff I watch a lot of times it's like a 25-minute trailer video on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I'll skip over ones that are on every one. So I've skipped over that one a lot. I've seen the thing with the airplane.
That's what I wanted to talk about, the biplanes.
Yeah.
So that's like the big stunt that he did for this. And there's other stunts, plenty of other stunts that he did. I would love to know like which of the stunts were him actually doing it and which of them were CG or stuntmen or all. Yeah. There are some that obviously wasn't him, like when he's in the underwater sub and stuff like that. Yeah, he wasn't actually in a sunken sub. That was all on stage, sound stages and whatnot. But yeah, I think this is the one that he actually did, and this stunt where he pretty much falls from a biplane, he did it 16 times. Oh my goodness.
I think he's completely just like.
Well, he's an adrenaline junkie for sure.
We live here on the hills. Grew up sleigh riding down these hills that would probably risk injury most of the time and crash. We make ramps and jump into stuff, our kids and stuff. Going down these things where I've got the kids sitting on my back, we jump, and like I literally almost get knocked unconscious. And you lay there in the snow, and your kids are like, "Let's do it again." And you're like, "Okay, let me see if I can find my spleen, put it back in. We'll go do this again." But that's literally what makes me think of him. Is he does this, and he's like, "I want to do it again."
Yeah, he's your kids. You're the stunt coordinator.
Yeah, the stunt coordinator's like, "Oh my gosh."
They're always like, "Oh man,
we got to reset that," and I've got to risk everybody getting hurt one more time. And
he's one of those actors where I really I hope this doesn't happen. I hope he ends up retiring and he sits in some Scientology compound somewhere and has a nice retirement. But man, if he ever like dies on set, no one's going to be surprised.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Tom Cruise died doing this ridiculous stunt, and everybody's going to be like, yeah, what do you think was going to
It'd
happen?
be the greatest selling movie of all times to see the movie that
Tom Cruise
that
died
he
in.
died in.
Oh, that's sad to think about. Tom, stay with us for a long time. We enjoy your antics.
I've always thought that he's like, of the people that always talk about wanting to freeze themselves and be awakened in the future, is that he's one of these people that will probably eventually do that.
I've recently thought that I would not be surprised if he has signed his likeness over to the Scientology, and like when he croaks, Scientology's like, that's fine, just make a digital copy of him.
He's gonna be
and put him in the movies.
He'll be the face of like the Wizard of Oz
for Scientology.
There'll be a temple with Tom Cruise in it.
Yeah, there's going to be a point at which actors can live on perpetually through this whole deep fake AI generation stuff, and I won't be surprised if he's one of the ones that do that after he retires or passes.
You take a scenario like we had in Blade Runner, where you sort of wipe out all the memories of stuff. If you preserve that and wipe everything else, you reintroduce him 50 years from now, and
right.
He'd be the hottest new actor. And people would be like, oh, have you seen that Tom Cruise guy? He's great.
The first actor I've heard of actually doing that is James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
With his voice for Darth Vader. Yeah. Like he told Disney, yeah, you can make my voice. I don't care.
Yeah.
And what he's essentially done is he signed a contract that will give his family money forever.
Yeah, generational wealth.
Yeah. And that's what these big actors who are really fighting this whole AI family. You guys are going. I think they're going around it.
Yeah.
They're going along it the wrong way. You got to say, well, let me. I know it's going to happen, so let me protect the rights of my likeness and my voice.
Every time that you decide you're going to use it, my great grandkid is getting a $200,000 check.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'd be like, yes. I know you're not a big sports guy. You ever heard about Bobby Bonilla?
Nope.
He had an option to sign with somebody for like this super big bonus and all this stuff, and he negotiated this thing. Is like, I don't want the big bonus. I want guaranteed, and I don't know the numbers on it. I could look it up. Say $100,000 a year for the next 75 years or something. He's been out of baseball since like the 90s, and he still gets paid every year by Major League Baseball. And it's one of the most ingenious things I've ever seen. I think I actually saw that. I think maybe this last week, people will actually post on like Twitter or whatever that it's Bobby Bonilla Day, because it's the day it's the day that he annually gets his major league check or whatever. And it's not like $100,000.
Yeah, but good on him.
It's millions of dollars. But instead of getting that one time $60 million big contract that only pays this if you get to the World Series, or how many home runs you hit and all this kind of stuff, he negotiated this thing that's where he just gets paid forever. And he's just, it really unfortunately kind of showed as he played, because I'm a big Orioles fan. He came to the Orioles for a couple of years and he did underperform. It wasn't that he just was such a naturally big hitter, big guy, that he could just, he literally probably like was sitting at a restaurant. Oh, am I up to bat? Hang on a second, guys. I'll be right back.
That's the way you do it. That's what these actors need to think about. And I guarantee Tom Cruise is, at least he's entertained the idea. I don't think he wants to quit. I think he's good. I think we're to see him for another 30 years.
Does he have kids?
Yes.
Does he? Okay.
With both Katie Holmes.
Okay.
And goodness, Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh, Nicole Kidman.
Yeah. I was thinking Kim Basinger. I was like, that is wrong. That's no.
Yeah.
Nicole Kidman. Yeah.
Well, that's the
his
thing
kids are both of them.
That I would set up if I was an actor in Hollywood. I'd be like, yeah, we're gonna make this deal to where my kids and their grandkids and stuff are, as long as they're not morons and they just don't go blow this on Lamborghinis, that they're set for life.
You set up a trust and kind of do what you're saying. Just leak it out to them. You know, here's
you guys want
100,000.
You guys want to run a bait shop in Buchanan? Then fine.
Yeah.
You go do whatever you want to do, and you're gonna be taken care of. You want to open a restaurant that sells nothing but Cheetos and fish sticks, then do it. It doesn't matter if you lose money, you're covered.
Well, as far as I know, one actor that doesn't have any progenies, Keanu Reeves, is in A Scanner Darkly.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think Because isn't that the big like tragic thing? Is that
Yeah.
the girl that he was in love with was carrying a baby, and she was killed in a crash or something?
He's got a lot of tragedy in his life.
Yeah, it's one of those things you almost don't want to like read about because it's just like, man, I don't want to watch that movie again. That's a sad one.
Yeah. That's
So
that's going to be a tear-jerking biopic whenever they make it.
yeah, I don't want to see that. I don't like to pay to go have my soul ripped out of me and destroyed for a week.
I don't know. Every once in a while, I think it's good for you.
It goes back to the movies that are amazing that I don't recommend. I could give you a list of those that will just like make sure you don't have any weapons or you're not near a high edge after you watch this movie, so you don't jump off of something. But I went back to Skinner Darkly because we did Blade Runner. I had it. I think I had a bunch of DVDs that were ones that you'd cycled through to get the codes off of for your digital stuff, and you were getting rid of some of those. I pulled that out of stuff that I wanted to watch, and I think I tried to watch it back when it came out and was like, what the heck is this? And then 20 minutes into what the heck is this, I was like, this is too weird. I'm not watching this. Just had no interest in this kind of story when I was in my 20s and 30s.
Right.
But because it's a Philip K. Dick story, and because we talked about Blade Runner and have explored that a little bit more, I was like, well, let me go watch this. It's still really weird.
Yeah.
It verifies that Philip K. Dick was a hardcore drug user in the 60s and 70s Berkeley era, which I didn't doubt. I just had never. I watched a couple little things that were part of the DVD that were he actually talks and stuff. And
well, if you ask Stephen King, that's a part of being a great writer.
He said that he wrote his best stuff when he was lit.
Oh, Philip K. Dick did?
Yes.
Nice. Okay.
And this whole movie was basically like his experience of living in like the Berkeley area with a bunch of drug addicts that he just like sort of let into his to come stay with him.
Oh goodness.
Because they were all just druggies and stuff. But very hard plot to describe. It's basically, again, guys like him just prophesizing stuff that makes you really wonder what drug use does to their psyche and how they get to this stuff. But the whole story is there's a world where 20% of the country is addicted to substance D, and I don't think it's a spoiling thing to do, is that you're getting to
it's been long enough.
Big Pharma, they have a different name for it. Is it New Era or something like that? Supplies the drug and supplies the treatment for the drug. So they're looping you into stuff so they can create victims that they can then treat.
And then decades later, corporations read that book and went like, hey, that's a good idea.
Cough, cough, cancer, chemotherapy, cough, cough. Very weird, kind of like Melancholia, other things like that. It's kind of, or Vivarium. It's very slow, kind of a hard watch. It's kind of all over the place, but it puts it. I have a 2 movie category at the moment. There's other movies that would go into here, and it's this one and Valhalla Rising, which there's no relation between those at all, other than they have a very good, worth the time payoff that happens right at the end of the movie, and you have to endure the movie to get to the payoff. And some people are kind of like, it's not like an M. Night Shyamalan thing where the whole movie's a gimmick, because he just makes gimmick movies, and they're enjoyable to watch, but that's pretty much his whole thing. Both of these movies are just it's a very last 5 minutes of the movie kind of payoff thing. It's not like you get your payoff reveal and you get 20 or 30 more minutes of story. It's like, ta-da, here's what this was all about. Credits roll. And without spoiling that part of that, that's what Scanner Darkly is. It got to the point that I was like, is this going anywhere? Why am I still sitting here? And then it hits a couple scenes and you're like, oh.
I would definitely describe it as like a surreal movie.
Yeah.
Surrealist movie.
It's got all kinds of people in it. It's got like Woody Harrelson.
Oh yeah, it's chock full.
What's Iron Man?
Robert Downey Jr.
Robert Downey Jr. Winona Ryder.
Woody Harrelson.
Gosh, what's his name?
Rory Cochrane. That's on the poster.
Yeah. I was thinking of the Oh man, I'm not gonna dig that one out.
And of course, I think you already said Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, one of the guys that's one of the other police officers in it is a guy that's in tons of stuff. Um, he's in American Beauty. He's like the military dude in a military or in American Beauty. Oh, where is he?
The dad.
Yeah, yeah. He's like, is his name Scott something? Or
I do not know. He's not an actor I would like pick out of a lineup.
yeah, but it was just everybody in it is somebody you recognize and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very paranoid atmosphere, which I think is.
Alex Jones is in it. I did not realize Alex Jones is in it as a street prophet.
Oh, like
Next time I watch it, I'll have to keep an eye out for that.
Like I said, there's some kind of prophetic power that some of these people get, like Philip K. Dick and whatever you think of Alex Jones. He's you don't know if it's like if you predict everything, do you just get to be right a lot of the time because you predicted everything? But it's like, wow, he's actually right about lots of things, whether you like him or not.
What's that phrase? A broken clock is right twice a day.
Yeah. He's got a lot of clocks.
It's been long enough to where I've seen A Scanner Darkly to where I'm not sure if these two films are thematically similar, but it had me thinking when you were talking about it about Naked Lunch. Did you ever see that?
I've not seen Naked Lunch.
Yeah, it's a weird movie.
Yeah, I saw.
It's been years since I've seen it.
I saw all the hype around that when it came out, and I was just like, I'm not. It's what's the other one? The Fear and Loathing and
Fear and Loathing Las.
I never watched
Vegas,
that either, just because I'm not a big fan of drug culture stuff. I've spent a lot of time of my life trying to stop that from harming people, and it seemed like I'm not saying these movies glorify that, but it kind of does. Seem like they kind of do, and I need to go watch them because I know they're good films. But
I mean, they almost always show the negative effects on people's lives.
Yeah.
So yeah, glorifying, but in like a like a warning kind of way.
I've always said that we were talking about Danny Boyle with Trainspotting.
Yeah.
That, and not spoiling anything there. That movie's been around long enough. If that's spoiling something, then too bad. The fact that they all get high, the lady's got a baby, and they wake up like 2 days later, and the baby's just dead because they've neglected it. That whole scene with the dreams of the baby crawling across the ceiling should be shown in high school. And parents would lose their minds. But it's the best public service thing I've ever seen for like, don't do drugs, guys, because it's to watch the whoever the actress was that plays that, and how she just comes unglued when she realizes that she killed her baby because she was getting high. And it's a hard to watch. It's a hard to watch scene. It's hard to watch. A lot of that movie is hard to watch, but it's like there's some things you just need. Excuse me, you just need a dose of, and that's like I said, that's the best public service announcement I think I've ever seen for drugs are bad, guys.
Have you seen the second Trainspotting 2?
I started watching it.
Seems like a weird movie to make a sequel to.
I started watching it, and like one of those things, I know it needs a second try. I could not get into it. I don't know how far I made it. It wasn't super far, maybe 20, 25 minutes. And I don't know if it was a falling asleep or it was like, I don't even know where this is going. So I just gave up on it for whatever reason. So
I kind of felt like, and I haven't seen Trainspotting 2, so I don't know. But I kind of feel like it's a similar situation with like Matrix 4. Like the studio's probably like, we're going to make it.
They wanted to make it regardless of whether there was a story or not.
Yeah, or if it should have been made or not.
A lot of the same people were in it, so I don't know. It's put it on a list to give a try at some point. But yeah, Scanner Darkly was. It's again, if you like something like Vivarium, watch Scanner Darkly. If you've seen one or the other and you didn't like one of them, then probably don't try to watch the other because they're heavier lifts as a film. But I think my daughter was even kind of looking at me. She was watching Scanner Darkly with me, like, is this going anywhere? I was like, just
wait.
I was like, I don't know, but it's like, it's not too much longer. Let's hang in there. We'll get there.
Now, the animation style of A Scanner Darkly is called interpolated rotoscoping.
That sounds painful.
Yeah.
I think I had that done here a couple months ago.
Now, aside from like some little indie projects and just little like internet animations, you don't see a lot of rotoscoping
I haven't seen that, honestly.
since then.
I don't know. Are you a consumer of music videos?
Not too much.
There's a I can ride my bike with the song's called No Handlebars from the Flowbots. Is seems to me like maybe it was
I can
rotoscoped.
ride my bike with no handlebars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
I
seems
like
like
that song.
it seems like maybe that one was, maybe it was just animated. That just instantly popped into my head when you said that. So
Yeah.
maybe
He
it
ends up
is.
destroying the world, doesn't he? In the song.
It's like it's basically two guys. One becomes an activist. One guy becomes a politician, and it shows the track of
Okay, so it's
they
going.
eventually
They're
clash.
talking to each other.
They come and clash back and forth, where the
I'll
activist rises up against the politician, and the politician destroys the activist.
look that up. I really wonder if A Scanner Darkly, because if I remember correctly, it wasn't a super popular film when it came out. Like it didn't do real well.
I can't see how it could be. I mean,
I imagine if it did better, we might have seen more rotoscoping, but it was like an experiment that failed.
if you did here's 10 people, I can't imagine more than 2 people go through and were like, well, that was good.
Yeah.
And probably 5 of those people probably don't finish watching it because they just can't.
I think A Scanner Darkly is a good example of like when they should have just animated it.
Yeah.
Like they had the live action and they animated over it. Just make it an animation.
Well,
That would have been
the whole thing with the scramble suits was one of the things that you had to have a mechanism for in the movie. The scramble suit was that Keanu Reeves is a undercover drug agent, but he had a suit on so nobody would ever know who he was. And it basically was like, it never really showed you an image. It was constantly distorting what you look like, so that I could be here in front of you talking to you and you'd have no idea who I am. It would alter my voice, never give you an idea, and you could go just take the suit off. And that was part of the movie too, is that they had times where they didn't have their suit on. But maybe at the time there wasn't a technology to do that without rotoscoping it, and now you could easily do that with CGI.
Yeah.
And just let the actors be themselves. But you also had like a lot of and you can do that with CGI now too, where the one guy was hallucinating a lot, had bugs crawling on him and stuff like that. And I think that was pretty effective the way they did it in that, because it was kind of one of those things that kind of made you. It's like if you ever you're like a good Appalachian thing for you. You get a tick on you, like when you're outside doing something, and you spend the rest of like the next 2 days feeling like there's something on you constantly. Like
Constantly,
every time, like the wind blows in a hair, you're just like, no. That's almost, that movie made you feel that way, with all the little bugs crawling on the Cochran guy as he was hallucinating and stuff on the drug. And so, but yeah, you could easily do that all in CGI at this point. But it's nice for it to be something other than that.
Right.
Makes it stand out.
Yeah, and again, would we be talking about it 20 years later if they didn't have it like that? I mean, sure, some people would have been seeing it about. I don't know if it would have been a cult hit like it is.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to what I've primarily been doing this month. Playing Dune Awakening.
Okay.
I've played so much of this game. Oh my goodness. And
give you a decent video game in your favorite world.
Yeah.
It's like, how would you not play it? Like,
well, if I'm being honest with myself, if it wasn't Dune, I wouldn't be playing it.
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoy the loop, but it's just the joyful glee about playing on Arrakis. Oh, I'm on Arrakis. There's a sand dune.
I grew up on G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Nobody's made like a shooter of G.I. Joe.
No, I don't know why not.
If you made a good like God of War style game where you could be Snake Eyes, or you could be Storm Shadow, you could be Roadblock, you could be your favorite guy, I'd be playing the crap out of that.
I think for G.I. Joe specifically, it would make sense to have like start out and you have like your base, you get missions, and you can choose I want to play this character on this mission, and you can like complete the missions in different ways depending on the character you choose.
Where's a He-Man third person? You run along and try to do the thing. You've got a meter of how long you can be He-Man. I have the power. You have to do that.
And once you run out, you have to be more stealthy.
Yeah, you have to get on your cat and run away.
If cat, if they did video game adaptations of films more than they do now, they don't do them a lot anymore.
Yeah.
We would be getting a He-Man video game coming up because they have that film coming up.
Yeah.
Have you seen the stills of that?
No.
I'll have to show them to you. as someone who enjoyed He-Man, I'm hopeful.
Yeah.
But big old butt, huge butt. It's one of those He-Man's in our world now movies.
Well, the Dolph Lundgren thing was like came to our
That
world.
came to our world, yeah.
Could have been fine, but they just made up characters. It's like you had like Orko and all the other characters, and they're like, "Here's this weird troll thing."
Well,
and I was like,
even Orko wasn't really Orko. He was like a little gnome.
well, yeah, it wasn't even the same name.
Yeah,
it was they created that little gnome character instead of just having Orko.
Oh, he wasn't called Orko. See, I don't remember that. Okay,
no, it was they made a character.
I've always
for
just
that
called
movie.
him Orko.
Yeah, no.
Oh. So it was a completely different character. That's weird.
They made up crap for the movie, and it was like, it's like you had Merman and Beastman, all the guys that were there, and like they didn't have. I guess they had a Beastman, but
I also remember Skeletor looking real weird. Yeah, last time I saw that, I was maybe 8, 9.
I haven't returned to that one either. But yeah, the Dune thing, it's like, why? I'm not for that same reason. I can completely understand if they made a accurate to the world game for something that I really enjoyed. I would love that.
Now, the exposition of Dune Awakening was clever. One of the problems with Dune in general is you have lore hounds. People who love the lore, and if you go against the lore, they're going to get mad at you. Yeah. There's a whole stratification in the fan base of Frank Herbert loyalists. They're like, it's Frank Herbert's books. Those are the ones that matter. Everything else is crap, similar to Star Wars. I'm one of the ones that I like Brian Herbert's stuff. I like his editions, but I do recognize where it kind of steps on the toes of his father.
Mm-hmm.
They went in and they said, hey, guess what? This doesn't even take place in the same Dune universe that you know. So like that the film is in. So the idea is, I've had this discussion with a couple people. Dune doesn't have alternate universes like the MCU.
Yeah.
There's not a multiverse. What we're playing is an alternate possible timeline. So with the whole spice and prescience, the idea is you can see the splinter of all the choices that could happen and what effects that will lead to.
Yeah.
And this is simply one of those possible realities. Like, really what we're doing in Dune Awakening doesn't really happen. Like it'll never cross over in any way with the main Dune universe.
I had that thought when you think about G.I. Joe, He-Man stuff. Is like even like a Star Wars game. Every like Star Wars game that I've ever played is like you're just reenacting the movie, going from one plot point to the other, getting from point A to point B. That how cool would that be that you could be like a Luke Skywalker character that was in an open world thing and stuff would happen depending on what you did. That if you went to this planet and slaughtered these people, then all of a sudden people view you as this or the bad guy, or if you go and save these people, you're a hero. And having that kind of thing where it's not changing the lore but letting you steer where it goes would be awesome.
There's one game series which you have a PS4. There is a game on the PS4 I would highly recommend. You don't really need to play the other ones. It's called Infamous. And I think it's called Second Son, the one on the PS4.
Okay.
And you play a guy named Delson. And the idea of these games is, I think it's Delson. The idea in these games is you can be good or bad. You can choose, and it's binary. You get a choice, and it's like do the bad choice or do the good choice. And that affects like how people see you, how people react to you. It's a cool little gameplay mechanic.
Pirates.
Yeah, a little bit.
You can be Dutch, French, English, or Spanish. And then you can go and you can be a pirate. You can be an ally to one of the countries and let you go to the friendly towns, and the other towns you're viewed as a bad guy. And the whole thing is that whole game, and this is back in Macintosh Color Classic era, is that you're building a reputation as either a notorious guy or a weakling, or and how long you live, and the bride that you marry, and everything is all based off of what you accomplish. And it's if they could do it on a Macintosh Color Classic little flat illustrated thing, I mean, good lord.
Have I told you that I was a fan of I'm a fan of the Elder Scrolls series? Yeah. Skyrim.
Yeah. I actually looked at I saw enough reviews of Elder Scrolls and people that were like Andrew Clavin from the Daily Wire was like playing it. It's like, And he's this old dude's playing it and telling me how good it is. It's like it's probably worth trying. And I actually considered it, and I was just like,
That's a big time sink.
I can't get into it. I just don't have the time to sacrifice.
Now the Elder Scrolls Online that came out like 10 years ago at this point, I was in the beta for that, and I loved that game for a little while, but I was one of those like lore sticklers with the Elder Scrolls, and I ruined my experience with that game being a stickler.
Yeah.
And that was a hard lesson learned, because like that was one of the things in Elder Scrolls that really bothered me is there was no like racism in the Elder Scrolls world, which there should be. Like if you're a Khajiit, and people should be like wary of you because Khajiits are known to like be thieves and stuff like that. If you're a particular elf, this other particular human race shouldn't like you, or the other way around. So and also benefits. If I'm a Argonian and I'm in Argonian lands, I should get better deals and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There was none of that. Like your race barely mattered.
It's called realism.
Yeah. And yeah, your race barely mattered in the game, and that really bothered me. And that's it kind of ruined the fact that bothered me. It kind of gnawed at me, and that was one of the things that I let ruin the game for me. In Dune Awakening, specifically because it's a different timeline, I'm like, if there's something that's like lore breaking, I'm like, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I'm having a lot of fun with that. The way the lore is different is Paul, the main character, was never born. Jessica decided to follow, instead of giving the Duke a son like he wanted, she gave him a daughter like the sisterhood wanted. And because she gave him a daughter, the sisterhood trained Jessica to be a reverend mother, a truth sayer. So she found out about Yui's betrayal before it ever even happened. She saw through Yui's disguise. And so in this world, Duke Leto lives. And the tension between the Atreides and the Harkonnen, because they had the attack didn't happen, so the Atreides are still in power, and the Harkonnen at this point has like killed all the Fremen as far as we know. Probably not. We're probably going to find the Fremen later.
Yeah.
But the basic gameplay of this is a survival game, and in the survival games, it's pretty much get this particular resource to build these machines and base parts, so you can get this other resource so you can build these other machines and base parts. It's just growing wider and wider, what you're able to do. And that's kind of what I've been doing. I put on a audiobook, and I'll go through and collect resources and build stuff and collect resources. It's kind of cathartic.
Does it get to like,
what's the goal?
When you have the resources, are you using them to like ever fight or expand or conquer or anything like that? Or
you do have in the game there's like bases that you have to raid, slavers that you have to attack, things like that.
Yeah.
And that's all player versus environment, PvE. So you're not attacking other people. In the wide game world, there are other people running about. You see their bases that they've built, which are essentially useless because you can't do anything in their bases unless they give you permission to.
Okay.
And hardly anybody's going to leave their base open for everybody.
Yeah.
So they're just kind of like an eyesore. You have, that person's got a cool base. That might be the best thing. You see a neat base.
Yeah.
There is at the end what they call end game. Pretty much after you finish the narrative and you've leveled up your character all the way and you've got access to build anything you want, you can go into the deep desert. And that's where player versus player combat exists.
Okay.
So once everybody levels up and they're good at the game, they go into the deep desert to get spice because at that point, hopefully are part of a guild of some sort.
You have to fight people to get it.
Have to fight other people to get the spice. And there are huge worms that'll swallow you. And in Dune, if a worm swallows you and you're loaded down with gear, gear's gone. All of it. I had that happen to me once. I was crossing, it was like in the very beginning, I was crossing the first basin, and I did play the beta for this, and I had crossed that basin many times in the beta. And so I was like, meh. I was like, yeah, it's okay. And a worm started coming, and I was just kind of playing with them a little bit. Yeah, no, I died. I was stupid. The other time I've only died, I've played like 80 something hours which for me is a lot, but for other people isn't. But the other time I died was quicksand. Didn't know there was quicksand in this game. I was just going along a patch of sand and got slow. My bike started sinking. I jumped off my bike and I was able to I was trying to see if I could get the bike out, like trying to like get back on it, or no, it wouldn't let me. And I had a suspensor belt on. I was able to kind of like float a little bit and get to the edge. Did you ever see Neverending Story?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember Atreyu?
Oh, yeah.
And the horse?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I felt like that.
Yeah.
Watching my bike with all of my materials sink into the sand.
There, at a couple of shows that we've been to, there's a sculptor who recreates. The first one I saw is he did the Iron Giant, like a huge one that takes up like a corner of the room.
Mm-hmm.
So you could go and get your picture taken with it, and he had like the Iron Giant's hand you could stand in.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was all to scale. The last time I saw
cool.
him, he had the wolf in the cave from Neverending Story, and actually had it where it like lit up, and I think maybe the mouth moved, so that I don't remember what the wolf's name is. The one that's
the nothing.
The one that wants the nothing to destroy everything.
I thought.
The wolf's got a
name.
But anyway, he had that set up as one of the scenes you could go have your picture taken with.
Gamork?
Yes. And he had
I think I always just called him the nothing.
What's the luck dragon? Shoot. Not Artez is the horse.
Dragon. Falcor.
He had a Falcor you could go sit on, and it was like the scale. And the other thing they had is they had Artez sinking in the swamp where you could go and sit there and hold the reins and look like you're trying to pull him out. And I was like, that's awful. I mean, it's cool that it was, but it was like, that's like one of the most traumatic scenes for anybody's childhood. It was like, yeah, you're watching it as a kid. It's like, oh, he'll get him out of there. Somebody's going to save. And it's like, nope, the horse just drowns.
Was such a good movie, good scene.
Well, we saw that walking past it, and I was just like, are you serious? Like, you're gonna make people relive that? I was like, that's funny, but that's bad.
The only other note I really have about Dune Awakening is there was a couple of games from the mid to late 90s. One was one of my favorite adventure games of all time, just called Dune. It was by a company called Cryo. And this was one of the first video games that was like on disc, and then they made a CD version of it. And the CD version of it had like pre-rendered CG background animations, and it was fully voiced, and it had like really crisp music.
Yeah.
The music from that game is known as Dune Spice Opera.
Okay.
And they recently, like the guy who like composed that recently got the rights back to it, and they contacted him, and his like remastered versions of it are in this game.
That's cool.
So, like I said, I've been listening to audiobooks, but when I found that out, I was like, "This is awesome. Let me listen to this." And so I was listening to the old Cryo music, and then suddenly I'm hearing a radio play that's in universe, that's like an audio sitcom that talks about like scrap dealers and Atreides and Harkonnen, and it's like old 1950s radio sitcoms and radio dramas.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. It's wonderful.
That is cool.
I really hope they continue it and like just add more and more as time goes on, because I've really found myself enjoying being kind of immersed in the world.
Yeah.
It's
something to be said too for that, like that music for something that's a big part of something that you're into, and how powerful that is for either motivation or just for getting you out of being in a rut and feeling bad kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
One of our favorite movies growing up was Last of the Mohicans. I was in the theater when I was in high school, about the time I started driving, and we had a dollar theater in Salem that after everything went out to, you could just go to get a 99-cent ticket. And I know when Last of the Mohicans was in the theater, we probably saw it 10, maybe 11 times. That was like, we didn't have anything else to do because Botetourt County. We didn't have any money. It's like, you want to go see Last Mohicans again? It's like, yeah. I ran cross country and distance and some shorter stuff and track and all that stuff. I would practice with the the theme, the violin theme from Last of the Mohicans, in a Walkman. And when I would run in races, I literally, that music was in my head every time. I basically, in a cross country race, you kind of go it on your pace for a mile, then you just start hunting people. You start tracking down the person in front of you.
Gotta be him. Gotta be him.
Catch him. You see the next person, you catch him, and you just kind of work your way. At least that's the way I used to run. I would be surprised if sometimes when I was running past people, if I wasn't like humming the music, like because I had that. I put that music on. Whatever pain you feel when you run would just, you disappear. You lock onto that person just like you're a missile, and just catch them. I was a bigger guy for cross country, so sometimes there was some pushing involved.
Get out of my way.
7 guys ranked scorers. I was number 7 on our team. So a lot of times where I placed kind of depended on where we finished in a meet, because the top guys were always at the top. Me being 20th versus 35th was a huge point difference. And my role, and the guy that was right behind me that was 8th, he's bigger than I was, Jeremy, was to take people out. lots of distance runners are little tiny skinny guys, and we were very large guys comparatively. And if there were people that we couldn't catch, so many things running on trails, we actually would get side by side and just roadblock. A guy used to videotape all of his son's stuff. He's one of our top runners. Had videotape VHS tapes of me coming around a corner and some kid like running like this because I just elbowed him. So there's lots of evidence of my crimes back then. But
would be even more now.
Oh yeah, no, it'd be a social media thing. I'd be destroyed now probably for whatever the topic of the week was. But
yeah, I agree. Music does a lot of heavy lifting in setting the pace, setting a tone.
Yeah, if you get a tune from something that's inspiring like that, and you get it in your head, and you're just like, rah.
Oh, I would bring up the Spice Opera on YouTube and just play it.
Yeah.
So I'm very welcome. It's very welcome.
The music that runs in the animatrix when it's back on the menu, the Who Am I thing. I would watch that and let it run back to that and just leave it there and let it sit there all day. And I'd be coming back through the room with that Who Am I thing. I was just like, that's perfect. Like, if I had a theme for my house music, that's one of them that would be playing all the time.
I'm going to write this down because this might be a coffee topic at some point. Best DVD menus, because that's a lost art, man.
Oh yeah.
Their DVD menus used to be awesome.
Yeah. You'd sit there and just let it cycle back around and watch it again, because it was like sometimes there were spoilers for kind of like something that was going to happen in the movie if you hadn't seen it yet. And I remember there being a few things that would come on. I'd be like trying to hit play. It's like, don't watch this. It's like it's going to ruin something that's going to happen.
So Dune Awakening has sold over 1 million copies already.
That's excellent for a video game,
and it's only on PC. That's huge.
Oh yeah.
A lot of times PC, like there'll be a game that's on console and it's like, oh, got 1 million copies on console, and they look at how many people on PC have been playing, and it's like, oh, 200,000. Yeah. PC is generally a lot smaller, so once they actually get this out, like on the Xbox and the PlayStation, it's just going to blow up.
That's going to be a cash cow.
Yeah, I expect this to be around for a little while, at least 5 years, I'd say.
I always come back to the Matrix Online thing. What could that have been today? Where you had an open world thing. It wasn't ready for it back when the movie came out, and they tried, and too many people like me were sitting on dial-up trying to download a song off Napster that took 55 minutes to get a 3-minute song, as long as nobody called you and screwed up your internet while you were trying to download it.
I'd like to show you they did I think it was Unreal 5 demonstration, a tech demonstration using the Matrix. I really wish that's the route they would go with that series, is just do video game stuff, man.
Yeah.
Don't do any more movies, just do video games. That's really what it needs to be.
I could argue for a TV series if it was out of the hands of the people that had it. Needs to be like some people that were fans of the original stuff that have complete control of it, and no studios,
go back to what we were saying with the Predator. You got to get people who respect the original and like the original material. And the people who make Dune Awakening seem to really respect and like the original material.
The whole time trying to force representation into the Matrix is so stupid. because the whole thing was that everybody was dead except for the people that were left in Zion, and they were mixed everybody. You didn't need to force any representation because they all melded into one people. Some were different colors, whatever. No, get me started.
No matter how much we mix, we'll have some different. Well, our shades will differ a little bit.
Well, the
unless we do it genetically and intentfully.
All the
we make ourselves grays.
All the identity stuff goes away when you have to come together and fight against something that's trying to kill you.
Yeah,
and that's what was so brilliant about the early Matrix stuff, and why all this identity garbage is just so aggravating. It's just the design to separate people and keep you separated and from ever coming together and unifying against the people that don't want you unified.
And I was talking about how Elder Scrolls Online didn't have like racism or anything like that. In Dune Awakening, you could choose to join the Atreides or join the Harkonnen. And as it goes on, they'll have other houses you can join. You can talk to them. You can't really do anything with them at this point. Yeah. And before I usually start playing these kind of games, I'm usually like, well, this is the kind of character I'm going to be. And usually I choose an honorable character. Like, I'm going to try to play a good guy. And when I was going to the Atreides, because they're supposedly the good guy, one of like the third or fourth quest they give you is to blackmail the Harkonnen dude that you've been talking to. Because you can kind of talk to them both, but at one point you got to choose. Okay. So that's kind of like, you've got to actually say, I'm going to be them or I'm going to be them. And I had to Google because I was like, well, do I have to be either? Can I just be neither? Because I'm like, the guy I'm playing wouldn't, because I'm friendly with the Harkonnen guy. Yeah. I'm not going to do the stuff he's asking me to, but I'm friendly with him. Yeah. I wouldn't want to blackmail him. And the Atreides guy was pretty much like, look, this is how it's done. Yeah. This is war. Yeah. Like, lesson learned. Yeah. So my plan is to go as far in the game I can without choosing Atreides or Harkonnen, and then I'll probably just choose Atreides because I've exhausted all the content.
You get to a point where you have to.
Yep. But I'm really enjoying it, and that I have been.
I like the idea of like losing your stuff when you fail.
Oh yeah.
That goes back to that Sid Meier's pirate game that when you would go ashore and try to attack a fort and loot it and stuff, if you got your butt kicked, you would come back with like hardly any soldiers, no gold, get on a boat, and if you could get back to another village before everybody on your boat mutinied and tried to kill you, you'd be lucky. I love that factor of it, that you were actually punished for failure. That if you actually decided to go after one of the big places, like I can't remember the geographical part of it. There was one of the
ports.
One of the big ports was like one of the huge ones. But if you ever lose,
probably Tortuga.
It wasn't that. It's right on the turn.
I never played Pirates myself. I just watched my dad play
it. It was all mapped out accurately. Whichever fort that was, if you ever could successfully sack it, you got like your reputation would explode. Every town you went to was like 40 pirates want to join your thing, and you would that's how you would become like one of the top ranks in it. But if you went there, like I said, you had this little thing where you had to move soldiers up, and they were shooting at you from the fort, and you finally get there, then you'd sword fight the captain.
It's amazing how vividly you're describing it, because I know it's just little pixels.
Oh, yeah, it was like 3 or 4 little dots that you would move here, then you'd move these guys up, and there are guys moving, and they're shooting at each other.
But your memory of it isn't that. Your memory is not of the pixels. You remember the battles.
Yeah. And while you're sword fighting the guy, you're watching your soldier count and their soldier count going up and down, and it's like, I've got to beat this guy quick before if I run out of soldiers, I just lose. And I love the tension of that for that such a simple game. And
I've heard people complain about, because like I said, you choose Atreides or Harkonnen, and then you like, once you choose one, the other one you can't choose.
Yeah.
It lops that off, which I do like, but people have complained that once you do choose them, that doesn't really affect anything in your gameplay. Like, it's not like, okay, now you're Atreides, well, you're going to have Harkonnen NPCs attacking your base. It's not like that.
Yeah.
Which maybe it'll grow. This is the MMO. These kind of games tend to grow, and they add features and stuff like that.
Yes.
And as with a lot of MMOs, my biggest complaint is that it's an MMO. Ever heard of The Witcher? Witcher 3?
I know of them.
You know of The Witcher, yeah. The bones of Dune Awakening, I could see this being like a Witcher 3 kind of game, like a single-player, expansive RPG. that would have been more along my lines of kind of game that I like. But I'm accepting Dune Awakening for what it is. Like I said, I'm not going to ruin it for myself. I'm just going to enjoy what I get, because I've never been able to play open on Arrakis. There was like a Dune game back in like 2000 that was like an adventure, a 3D adventure game that was very rough.
Yeah.
But this is like the first time you actually like, I feel like I'm on Arrakis, and I'm just happy about that.
Yeah.
So you watch Kill Command?
I watched Kill Command. I kind of shuffled it down the list of not making it.
I just wanted to hear about this. I've never seen it, but when I looked it up, I saw Vanessa Kirby was in it.
Yeah.
And she is an up and coming actress. She was in one of the Mission Impossibles. I think she was in Fallout, and she's in Fantastic Four.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that was the same girl.
Yeah.
What year?
This was in 2016.
Yeah,
it was 10 years ago.
A while ago.
9 years ago.
The closest way I could describe it is it was Dog Soldiers, if you know that werewolf movie, but with like artificial intelligent, like drone robots.
Okay.
I watched it because I do like mech stuff and robot stuff, and that part of it is very cool. It was a good movie. I was cycling it out of something to talk about, because by the time we got to 28 years later, we did that like last week, I couldn't even remember how Kill Command ended. But enjoyable watch if you like the special effects and stuff are really good. The lot of good fight scenes, kind of fighting these sort of drones that become self-aware. Then there's other parts of the story of, are they becoming self-aware, or are they being tested to, like, kind of wanted to test them against an actual soldier team to see how effective they would be. And forgettable movie, but a fun
Okay.
watch. It's probably not anything groundbreaking. There's probably 6 others that you could probably throw into the same storyline. Like I said, that.
I mean, if you're the type that's going to watch like Sharknado, you know.
way better than that.
Okay, great.
Like not that kind of level. It had very good special effects, very good, kind of cool designs of the drone robots and stuff like that. Kind of a little bit like, like the Hunter Killer stuff from Terminator, if it was more modern, more advanced. Fun movie. She's got some technology things too. She's a little bit of a enhanced person herself.
Okay, yeah, I see her eyes are like glowing. So the just from the stills that I'm looking at, I get kind of like a Transformer feel. Like just the design of the
maybe
robots.
With the time frame that it came out in, may have been influenced by, because all those Transformer movies were coming out left and right during mid 2000s there.
I think the word that Star Wars uses, greebles. It's like they have a ship, and then they have a panel on the ship, and they just like add stuff to it.
Okay.
And those things, I think they call them greebles.
Okay.
And that's kind of like what I feel with the Transformer designs, where there's just a lot of like wires and little rods and stuff that you can see that makes it look mechanical. That's kind of what I'm saying here.
First Transformers movie was just kind of mind blowing, because you're just watching. It's like Jurassic Park. The first time you saw that, you're like, oh my goodness, I've never seen dinosaurs like this. And the first time you got a depiction of Transformers the way that Michael Bay did it was like, wow, that's impressive. And after like 4 or 5 of them, it was like, wow, that's like the first movie.
Hey, the first movie still looks good today.
Oh yeah, they look great. It became one of those things like Jurassic Park. Do we need 17 more of them? But somebody thinks that we do.
Apparently so.
No, all right. It kind of takes me to the complaint of why they never made a Transformer toy after the ones in the 80s. I bought my son Transformers when he was in that kind of toy era. I don't know, but maybe 7 to 8, maybe to 10 years old. We couldn't ever get him to transform. They were so poorly made and hard to transform that he didn't play with them, because they weren't like the ones that I had, where you could flip a few things around and you could change them and you could fight. They tried to
smash them together.
They tried to make them so detailed and collectible that they were too hard to play with. And even he was just like, man, heck with this. I don't have 30 minutes to try to transform this thing properly. And
well, unfortunately, the Transformers they're making today are for like adult collectors.
Yeah, I think that was at the beginning of that probably era where they were
Mhm.
making it for people my age instead of my son's age, and
They have self-transforming Optimus Primes now. That's like $1,000.
yeah.
It looks like they have a line of them. It looks like they have a Bumblebee,
I had
what's it, Grimlock? Is that the
the T Rex.
T-Rex?
I
Mm-hmm.
had the Bumblebee and the Cliff Jumper that were literally like little plastic Volkswagen Beetles about this big. That basically you pulled him out, you flipped his head up, pulled his legs and his arms out, and that was it. He was meant to be played with, and he looked like a Volkswagen Beetle, not a Camaro.
I was never really into Transformers. That really was my thing. But I did have this, and it wasn't, I've looked it up since then. It was not Transformers, a knockoff. It was a little golden nugget. It was just a little nugget, and you pull the arms out, pull legs down, and pull the head up. And then he's a little robot. And I just remember having that toy and getting him really dirty with like Cheetos dust.
We had GoBots too that were an attempt to be an alternate thing from
I
those
remember GoBots, yeah.
kind of more like Hot Wheels size things. And however long they lasted, they just couldn't compete with the Transformer stuff. And they were the ones that you would get like a knockoff version of at the grocery store on like the little toy aisle. Is that the little
This is
gold?
the little gold nugget. Yeah, you can find them on eBay. See, gold nugget.
I love to play with him in nugget form.
Yeah,
Let's roll him across the table.
I see the Transformers and GoBots as being kind of like the Pokemon Digimon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember there being a GoBots cartoon, but like I guess it was such they were chasing Transformers so hard that it just didn't have any backing. It didn't last. And
All right, well, the last thing we got for appetizers is the small rant. I'm going to go on a small rant.
I've had mine.
Okay.
You're owed one.
All right.
I've had my Viking rant, and
We
I won't even think about it again because I'll start it again.
we went out of town this past weekend, and whenever I go to town, I like to just stop by used video game stores, comic stores, that kind of stuff. Just to look around, see if anything pops. And there's been for a few years now, there's been an annoyance with used video game stores that I'm at the point where I'm pretty much fed up with it. Used video game stores, I'm done going to them. And for the longest time, I've said eBay has destroyed the secondhand market, and they have, because not only it's the best and worst tool for someone who wants to collect things. Because one, you have access to everything.
Yeah.
Two, everyone else has access to everything, so that just drives up the price. Because people are so impatient, they can't just be like, well, this should be worth this much money, so I'm not going to bid. No, I'm just going to bid and bid and bid until I get it. Drives up that price. And what has happened is the used video game market is basing what they're selling their games for, not really on what is selling for on eBay, but what is being asked for on eBay.
Yeah.
And
I've always said that with like Pokemon cards is like you cannot use eBay as a market price for cards because people will take something that is a $3 card and they'll put an auction up to say $25 or buy it now for $25, and you can't. People throw in graded stuff, they throw in foreign stuff. There's all these like factors that just make it to where there's no way to. I saw that for such and such on eBay. It'd be like, good for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like here it is on TCG Player, and the last 15 of them sold for $12. So it's a $12 card. It's not a $45 card because you sell it on eBay for that.
Right. And I I suspect that there is a very active market that on the seller side to drive up prices on eBay, where sellers will have other sellers, or they'll just be having another account or something, or maybe there's even a conspiracy theory here. Maybe there's even like a network of them that do this for each other.
It's not conspiracy at all.
Where they drive up the prices to try to get people to pay. Well, now it's worth this because look at what it's actually sold for.
I won't say the names of it because I don't want to get in any kind of liable thing. But I've seen stores that have access to get lots of copies of things that I'm certain that it's some of those stores that will go through. Say this collectible card, Charizard EX, is $100 market price. They want it to be more than that. If you go all the way to the back page of the listings on TCG Player, there'll be 3 listings there that are all like $3,000.
No,
And it's
that's
because
ridiculous.
they have extra ones there. They know they're not going to sell it at that. They're putting it into the marketplace, trying to affect
Hmm.
the market of it.
Exactly.
And they're not doing it under their store name, but I guarantee you it's somebody that works for their store that's doing that. In the same way, when they want to be able to buy them, they're going on and listing, having somebody that will come on and list that card at $15 when it's $100 card, because they're trying to get the markets down, because they know they have a regional coming up and they need to buy a bunch of copies of them so they can get them for as low as possible. So when they go to the regional, they can sell them at, if it's $100 card, they want to sell them at $175 a piece, because they know people will pay that, because they have to have it for that tournament. And
Hmm.
it's it's not just in the video game market; it's in everything. People that have the ability to manipulate it do it all the
Do it all.
time
Yeah.
and get away with it, and there's no way to really fight it that I can see.
Well, the way I'm fighting it is I'm done. That's the way I'm fighting it.
Yeah.
Essentially, I have I have my video game collection. I will buy things here and there, but for the most part, I'm satisfied with my video game collection.
Yeah.
There are a couple of I have my list of like, man, if I ever see these, for a good price, I'll buy these. But that list is really, if I ever want to get these, I'm going to have to spend money to get them.
Yeah.
But there were two games specifically. There were a handful of games, but two games specifically I want to talk about with this at this place, this game store I went to. And it was a wonderful game store, and I can see kind of like comic stores. You have a place to go to talk about games, have a community. That's fine, but some of the local game stores here, I got tired of taking my because I feel it's rude to sit there and look on prices on your phone.
Yeah.
I do it now, but I
don't.
used to not because I was thinking it was rude. But I got tired of buying 3 or 4 games, going home, looking at what the price actually is, and realized, well, I got gypped out of $15.
What I love about people being able to do that is we go to shows and I price our cards right before we go to a show, is that you get that guy that he wants to argue about price with you, and he's going to pull it up on the phone so he can be like, haha. And he pulls it up on the phone and sees that I have it for $5 less than the market price. And you can watch the expression on their face just be like, my whole plan to like make a big scene here just got flushed down the toilet. And I'm like,
And
so
I'm
you're interested in that card? He's like, no, maybe I might come back for it. It's like, yeah,
yeah.
okay. You're going to take what I have it for, and you're going to go try to find it somewhere else that's marked up and say, this guy over here's got it for that. Why don't you sell it to me for this? I'm like, whatever.
And I can sympathize with the video game store owner needing to make a profit.
Yeah.
I get that, but these two games specifically, Rough Trigger is like a Ratchet and Clank knockoff.
I saw the picture and I couldn't
Yeah.
see what the name was. I was like, is that Ratchet and Clank?
Yeah, it looks like a Ratchet and Clank knockoff, and it amused me. And I'm at the point in my video game collection where I'm just getting stuff that amuses me.
Earthworm Jim.
Yeah.
I love playing Earthworm Jim. It's not that good of a video game, but it's so fun and so funny.
And they only wanted $20 for it. I was like, that's not bad. $20, no big deal. That's a good, yeah, sure. Looked on eBay. I bought it in the store on eBay for $13.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, do that over 20 games, and you're looking at a good chunk of money.
There's something to be said for you get it in hand. You don't have to. He doesn't have to pay for any shipping to do it. You're saving on that, and just the immediacy of getting it right then and there is worth a few more dollars instead of I'm going to go home and wait for this for 3 weeks.
Right.
So,
I completely understand that, and you and I do come at this from different sides. You come at from someone who has a store. I come at it as a consumer only.
What he's doing as a store owner is doing what I don't want to do. Is he's in probably a rundown strip mall that used to be something fancier. Probably in a building that's probably just barely passing code.
This particular store was downtown, and downtown was being heavily renovated.
Yeah. So he's in a place, but he's probably still paying who knows how many $1,000s a month for rent, getting overcharged by somebody that owns the property, and having to make that extra money to try to clear all that. That's why we do conventions, is I don't want to be in a building that I'm having to every month try to figure out how am I paying for this $4,000 a month rent when I can go to 4 different shows for that same money and get spaces at them and have 3 times as much retail as who's going to wander through my store in a week, especially in a town like Roanoke. If it was a more vibrant town, then I might try to actually get a store. But I've done shows in Roanoke and see the people that come by the booth and the parents, they're like, you got $10 to spend. You sure you want to spend it here? It's like, you've taken all the businesses out of Roanoke. People don't have money to spend. Therefore, I am not going to open a store here where I need you to spend more than $10 so I can survive.
and I would be more sympathetic with about that, the need to survive. And like I said, these a lot of video game stores, especially like the local ones, they do provide a place of community.
Yeah.
I mean, there is something to say for that. Me just blowing through a town and stopping at a store, that's a completely different shopping experience than someone who comes there every day. And this store was packed.
Yeah.
It was clean. It was nicely organized. The guys were super nice. So I guarantee you they have clientele.
Yeah.
But
it's bad that they have to try to make that much money to survive.
Yeah.
But that's kind of comes back to the real estate part of it,
Mm-hmm.
and existing in a city where the taxes and stuff are so stupid because they're trying to tax everybody there that has a business to pay for their little vanity projects that
Mm-hmm.
don't create any money, that it just makes it, again, kind of comes back to why we don't have a business, a brick and mortar store, because I don't want to fight that. And it's my son just doesn't get to play a lot. He went and played in a win-a-box tournament for Pokemon for the Destined Rival set, which is this Team Rocket set. It's a pretty awesome set. It's got a lot of collectible stuff in it. It's got a lot of playable stuff in it. $20 to enter the tournament to win a booster box. Booster boxes right now are retailing for like $250. They're supposed to be like $120. That's how much they mark them up.
Jeez.
He won the tournament because he and I, we've just been playing so long, we can go to these small events and just, no matter what everybody's playing, unless we just have a crap round, we're going to win because we've been there, we've been in world championships, regional championships, we've played all these guys that have streaming things, we've played them. We just have that experience that if all things are even, we're going to probably make the better decision in the game than you do. And I'm not trying to say that in some kind of conceited way. It's if I go and shoot free throws all day and you haven't touched a basketball in a year, I'm going to probably outshoot you shooting free throws. It's just a practice and experience. But we were talking about the number of people that were entered into the tournament. And I said something to him, I was like, well, it's okay for you to have that kind of turnaround on that box if you wanted to sell it for that. It's a good turnaround for you, but I mean, you're not hurting the store owner because he had all these people show up and they charged $20 a person. So he cleared, $400 or $500 on that box. And my son was like, I don't like to think about it that way. I was like, it's not bad to think about that way because he's having to pay a weekly rent, and who knows what he's paying for rent for that store.
Yeah.
And how many things he's probably selling with a 10 or 15% margin, because distributors have started marking up stuff to people now, not selling them to you at what they're supposed to, so that you can sell them at MSRP. It just steamrolls one after the other. You mark it up a little bit, I have to mark it up a little bit. You mark up my rent a little bit, I've got to mark it up more. You add in city taxes that I have to cover this, and that, and it's unfortunate that it gets like that.
Unfortunate is right. The other game I have up here, El Shaddai. This is the game I've had an eye on for a long time. I've just dug my heels on getting it. I just think it's a cool looking game.
I was looking at the artwork. Does it have sort of Okami type artwork in it, or
not really.
Okay.
I mean, it is on PS3. I don't think they were going after that.
Okay. It still looks like a really cool style if that's the type of artwork in the game.
Yeah, let me show you a screenshot real quick.
I do appreciate video game artwork, if you can call it that.
Oh, it looks like we're gonna start a video. Mute. There you go. So.
Oh yeah.
It is.
That is cool looking.
Yeah, it is. It is stylized.
Yeah.
They had it for $80, and they had it on the behind the counter section and a little display. And they always have that.
That's your other part of your cities is that you have to put things behind the counter so you don't get everything that you own stolen from you every day that you open.
And I was able to get it for $35. And that's one of those things. Like I said, I understand, but with these sort of things, like with the local store, if it was like a 50-50 shot, sometimes sometimes I got a good deal, sometimes I paid a couple extra bucks. I would have been fine with that. But time and time again, it seems like with used video game stores, if you go to the store itself, you're always going to be paying $5 plus.
Whatever happened to going into a GameStop and going to that section where all the used games for $8.
Yeah, that's gone now.
Yeah, that you could just go.
$30 is what a used game costs now.
Yeah, I mean, just that was the way we function on stuff. It's like I'm not going to buy that game when it's $60 when it comes out because I'll wait till I can get it for $15. And now you can't do that. The $60 when it comes out turns into $90 after it's been played because it's collectible.
And this goes right back to my comment about eBay being simultaneously the best and worst thing that ever happened to collecting. If eBay didn't exist and the online market like this didn't exist, then we wouldn't know about this. We would probably have a sort of price guide, kind of like cards and comics do.
Yeah.
But as far as I'm aware, there is no price guide, no widely used price guide for video games, as far as I'm aware.
I'm really surprised. I didn't think it would be enduring at this point, even that all of the craziness that happened in 2020 with I've got to get this, I've got to collect this, I've got to grade this, I've got to buy this and not open it and hoard it and all that stuff. I could see that being a little trend, and I was like, maybe give it a year, maybe 2 years after people actually get released from being in prison in their homes, and maybe they'll calm back down. And I'm really surprised that it's grown instead of faded away. It's
well,
whatever.
Specifically with video games, the newer games, like I think fewer games are getting physical copies anymore.
Yeah.
And also with that, when there are physical copies, there are fewer copies that are made.
Yeah.
So everything's becoming more scarce. If the general rule now is with video games, if you don't get it when it comes out, expect to pay more later.
Yeah.
So unless you're doing digital, and that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
But if you want a physical copy of a video game, get it when it comes out, because otherwise you're going to pay at least $20, $30, $100 more.
Well, we'll get to this when we get into our main course, but what we're going to talk about in our main course, I think, should be a lesson to people about how sometimes a secondary market for things is what saves a lot of franchises and movies and video games and stuff like that. But that market only existed because they made physical copies for you to own. And specifically in that time, talking about VHS releases of movies. But
yeah, there are a lot of movies and that kind of the movie got saved by the physical release. Absolutely.
And we've got movies that we want to do for our show. They're going to be tough to ever find copies of because there's no physical copies of them, and they're owned by this streaming service or that streaming service. And
I mean, we're going on to the Internet Archive and watching really bad VHS digitizations.
That's one of the options that we have as a potential show down the road is the old Werewolf series that Fox had, and if we decide to do that, I've got a bootleg copy that was made on DVD from somebody's VHS tape. Nice. And it's bad, but that's the only way you can get it, and it's
that's a shame.
It's just stupid that that the studio is like, I could make this, even if I only made 2,000 copies of it, we'd sell them all. People, there's at least, you could crowdfund it however you wanted to crowdsource it, whatever that right word is, to find out how many people are interested in it and make that many. And
and then half of those would go in collectors to sell later.
Yeah. I guess if
I was for 3 times the price.
If I was doing it as a company that wanted to undercut that, if I had 2,000 people who wanted it, I'd make 4,000 of them.
Yeah.
Just to. I like for people to be able to enjoy it and not have to fight over a property or a game or a movie. It doesn't make sense to hoard it.
But one of the things that was kind of like the hope of digital services was like the idea that Fox would have their digital streaming service and they would have all the Fox shows that they ever had on it. No, that's not what they do.
No.
But yeah, our next course is going to be the next episode is going to be the main course.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about Tremors.
A lot of tie-ins from things that we probably have cruised through in this, from Dune to
Worms.
Other. I kind of have to go back and think about what we talked about already. Dan to Dan, little tie-in to Tremors.
We can go back and watch the 2 hours of this episode and figure that out, right?
To go back. We're getting old and we have to go back and watch our own episode to remember what we talked about.
Right. All right, well, I'll see you for the main course, Joel.
We'll see you.
See you then. All right, bye.